Hey guys, welcome back to Ranger Survival and Fieldcraft. I'm Andrew, and what I have for you today is a look at the Escape Belt Survival Kit. Stand by. The Escape Belt Survival Kit was a concept first developed by a British SAS officer, Major Hugh Gilpin, to solve a common problem that was coming about because of guerrilla warfare. Soldiers were being taught to drop their rucksacks and then fight through enemy contact once that contact is made. But what happens when our rucksack is destroyed by enemy indirect fire, or we can't find our rucksack wherever we dropped it because it's nighttime? What happens if we make overwhelming enemy contact and we have to escape and evade with only the things on us? Now we have this escape belt, thus the name, so we can escape, fight, and survive for a couple of days until we re-enter friendly lines. All right, so let's dive into our kit. All right, so we're gonna start at the ends of the belts, both sides, and then work our way into the middle where the majority of the kit is. This is the left-hand side. I'm right-hand dominant, so I'm gonna have different items on the right-hand side, but most of the kit itself is going to be evenly distributed. Now that first pouch, we're gonna have our compass, so we can do land navigation. I'm right-hand dominant, which means that if I carry my compass on my left side and I hold it with my left hand, that's one technique to help get over lateral drift, our body's natural tendency to veer left or right as we move through the woods. And so having the compass on the left-hand side is just a benefit for me on how I set up my kit. You'll see that the compass is also tied down so we don't drop it or lose it. All right, next we have a 25-foot hank of cordage. This is the thicker model of paracord attached to our carabiner. So we have a carabiner. We can use this cordage to do most utility tasks, shelter, create some sort of handhold when going up and down hill. We can use this if other people are in our group and they have the same cordage. We can take the cordage, put it together to create a longer rope if we're crossing a water source. Anything we can use rope for. We carry a small hank like this, 25 feet of large gauge, that we can use for all those purposes. Next we have our first ammo pouch, and it's just a 2-mag ammo pouch. So we have at least 60 rounds right here for our primary weapon system that we can fight with. Moving up from that ammo pouch, we have our first canteen pouch. With a kit like this, it's important to have enough water, to carry enough water, and to have that water evenly distributed. That's why I like to have one canteen on one side and one on the other side. With our canteen and pouch here on the outside, one of the most important things is going to be water treatment tablets, so we can treat water on the move chemically. We've got our 1 quart canteen. This is Nalgene style. I prefer the clear one so I can actually see what is inside. And if it's colder out or we're in a winter environment, we can see the ice forming on this if we turn it upside down. That way we can see where the ice level is, where it could be based off the water. Once we upend our canteen to let the ice form at the bottom, once we turn it over, we'll have fresh water at the top. So clear canteens are really good to have. Next, we've got our canteen cup and then that aluminum stove. This is just a stand that goes over the fire. We place our canteen cup in it, and then we would place this down on the fire so that fire's underneath. We get that heat. It's a much more efficient type of fire. You can set this and forget it until the water boils, making it safe to drink. It's probably the best military water survival kit that's still in use today. All right, so now we're on the right side of the belt, similar to the left side. Difference is we have our secondary weapon, or at least our utility knife or our survival knife here. This is the Ontario Blackbird, a good military survival knife. It's S35VN type steel, so a very robust, tough steel, which is great for military environments. Having something that's really strong as well as resistant to the environments, making it durable, is going to be incredibly important as well. We got full tang, 90-degree spine with a good blade on it, good handhold that we can use for chopping, batoning, taking down material, everything a survival knife should be used for. And this is a similar setup with a survival knife or some sort of fixed blade that Major Gilpin had on his kit. So we have our field knife or our survival knife. Next we have our other magazine pouch. Like I said, on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, I like to have things evenly distributed. But we have 2 more magazines, another 60 rounds, 120 rounds right here, half a combat load that we can fight and survive with, defeat a threat, and then continue to escape and evade. We have our second 1 quart canteen and pouch, similar setup. All good reasons to carry a clear canteen. You can see that water and all the skunky water we're going to be drinking. Plus that canteen cup, another feature is that it helps to protect our canteen from being broken if we take a slip or a fall. We need to protect this as best as possible. So that canteen cup accomplishes that. Now let's talk about our last two pouches. There are two pouches divided into two separate kits at the back of our belt. So it's going to sit right on our lower back, right above our fourth point of contact. And one pouch is going to have our shelter equipment in it. The other one is going to have the rest of our sustainment items in there. Things like food and signaling for rescue. Let's take a look at our shelter kit first. A lot of the items that were carried in here are basic things to go overhead, or at least establish some sort of tarp or poncho as an overhead cover to at least get out of the rain. So that's what we're gonna find here. The rest of the items, things to sleep on or things to sleep in, we're gonna have to craft from the landscape using our survival knife. Now things that I've added myself, things like just a quick ridge line. This is the quick deploy ridge line concept that we teach at the Pathfinder School. So I grabbed mine out of my instructor tough box and threw it in here as part of a way to get that tarp up and establish an overhead cover very quickly. Next, bungee cords. Bungee cords are great for establishing a shelter in those tie-out points, the four corners of our poncho very quickly. A lot of things can be done with 4 good bungee cords like these. One thing that was recommended was some sort of large clear plastic bag, something that we can either put over ourselves as a poncho or climb in to help retain body heat. We can even use this as a transpiration bag, so having that. And then the last thing is going to be a poncho or that tarp. This is the main item that goes in this pouch, meant for overhead cover, establishing a shelter, something to sleep under and get out of the elements to protect ourselves. Everything else we're gonna have to recreate for a shelter. But with this poncho, a lot of different uses. We could wear it as a poncho to help protect us from the rain. We could use it to collect rainwater, refill and rehydrate. We could also use this as a cover for a smoker. If we kill meat off the landscape and process it, we can use this to actually smoke that meat to preserve it for longer. And we can use this for an improvised float to cross water obstacles. We can use the poncho for a lot of different things. Even a litter to medevac a casualty. The poncho is going to be one of the most versatile military tools in a survival situation. So we have that. All right, now let's look at this last utility or sustainment pouch. In here, we're going to have all of our sustainment items. That first thing is going to be a large VS17 panel. This is roughly 6 feet by 18 inches or so that rolls out, and this is going to be great for signaling for rescue. And we can take a bunch of these if there are more people in our group that have the same signal, and we can actually create different messages with these signals that air crew and aviators can see. And then next we have a mess tin or a mess kit. This is a Dutch model, but it's going to have the rest of our kit items in here. That mess kit is going to have one large pot on top with a handle. And we can put this over the fire. We have an extra container. This is also a good way to protect all of these items within the kit itself. So we have that first lid or that larger bush pot. Then we have a smaller one. And in here are all the items that are recommended to be carried as part of this sustainment pouch. We have just a flashlight. So we got that spare light, red lens cover. All right, next we have a stove with Esbit fuel cubes inside so we can make a hot brew. Next, emergency matches. We have another fire lighting source to get our survival fire going very quickly or start those fuel cubes within our stove. Having those survival matches, very, very important for extra fire starting, for signaling, for keeping warm. If we're out there for an extended period of time and we have to have a fire, we have multiple attempts with this and we can carry them with us too easy. Next, we got a brew kit. Tea is great for survival, better than coffee. Even though we get that stimulant from the caffeine within the tea, which is a diuretic in and of itself, tea will exacerbate our thirst less than coffee. And with tea, we can easily drink this, make a hot brew with our stove in our canteen cup, and then feel somewhat human out there while we're surviving, escaping, and evading. So something that goes in here, more of a luxury item than anything, but having a brew kit is important. Speaking of food, something in our stomach, we've got energy bars, the survival food that is about 410 calories per bar. So we got about 800 calories, almost 1,000 calories of food right here, just sitting in our mess tin, something to sustain ourselves in survival if we're not able to forage or if we're not able to get any wild game off the landscape. We have food with us, extra rations. Next, the survival blanket with that plastic bag that was recommended as part of the kit for shelter, including Mylar blanket is also important. We can combine that plastic sheet to make a super shelter to help keep warm. And we have one like this that is orange on one side, OD green on the other. So we can use that orange side for signaling and the OD green side for a hide site or some sort of evasion shelter. And then lastly, flares were recommended. These are pin flares. You take one of these pin flares out, place it in the actual pin, and then pull down trigger. It'll launch the flare up. These are great for signaling aircrew, signaling search and rescue aircraft. And they're a lot of fun if you're a dumb private having pin flare wars with your Joe buddies over in Iraq. And then we have that last bush pot, the smaller Dutch tin that fits inside the larger Dutch pot over there that contains our entire kit. All right, one thing that is instrumental in a kit like this is redundancy in having that small survival tin to go in our pocket or in the belt itself. So let's just pop this kit open and we'll take a look at the contents very quickly. So we've got our survival instructions right on top. How to build shelter, do some land navigation, fire starting techniques, signaling for rescue. All good stuff to know. Plus, if we already know those things, we can use this paper as tinder. We got matches, survival wire for snares. We got 3 fire tinders to start a fire with, to go with that ferro rod, that small one that comes in a kit like this. We got a sewing kit and type 1 paracord, small paracord. We can use that cordage for a variety of things. All right, we have that whistle inside our tin. We don't have a whistle as part of our escape belt, so that's important to have another signaling device. Water bag to collect water. We have the water purification tablets, or powder in this case, to treat that water, make it safe to drink. Got that fishing kit, assorted hooks, line, sinkers, swivels, and some lures. Zip ties. You can do a lot of things with zip ties. Got that commando wire saw. You got a pencil. Got that button compass. Looks like it's pointing north. Next we got a signaling mirror. It's actually made out of metal that we can use to signal search or rescue, so highly durable. Another good fire starting tool is that Fresnel or Fresnel lens. Solar ignition. Next we just have a razor, a small cutting tool. And then lastly we have just a number of bandages that we can use for a variety of smaller injuries. All right, so that's the survival tin, just right off the shelf. There are probably a few items in here that I would change out to enhance this kit just a little bit and complement our escape belt a little bit more, but this is still a good kit to use. Now, what I really like about this kit setup is that it's been adopted and is actually taught to military personnel in survival schools or in ranger school, whatever, to cross-load those survival items, have different levels of kit. Level 1 is what's in our pockets, the survival tin. We can take all these items, place them in our pockets because they're small enough, and cross-load. That way we have at least a few items if we're left without everything else. Next we have level 2, which is our escape belt or our flick or our taps or our plate carrier, the things we're gonna fight and survive with. Our third level, which is our rucksack, our home, our house. It has all of these items and more. It's what we live out of and resupply ourselves in the field. I really like that concept of cross-loading and having multiple levels of kit. All right, guys, another down and dirty video this weekend for you, looking at this survival kit methodology, a little bit of the history behind it, and why we do things the way we do. A lot of good items in here, redundancy, building kit levels, cross-loading items, having everything we need in case we're without our main supplies to be able to survive and make it back to friendly lines. So I really hope you liked this video. If you did like this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment in the comment section. I always appreciate your feedback. I want to thank you guys for everything you do for me, for this channel, for your likes, your views, your subscriptions, your comments, your feedback, and your shares. And I'll be back with another video as soon as I can, guys. Thanks.